What's going on, guys? I'm a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel. Thanks for watching. So, you guys have read the like the title and stuff like that, and there may be a bunch of questions and stuff like that, but it's a question that, or a statement rather, that has been bothering me about the gun guy community for some time now. Because here's the thing, like, for the longest time, the word tactical, right, and everything surrounding around that, and just the concealed carry purposes, and a lot of schools that are out, and all this other stuff is catered very, very heavily towards a specific thing. Something that I can point out as an example of all this, right, is that there are a lot of schools out there, really good schools out there, that a lot of civilians or a lot of just regular people, okay, grab their wallets, open them up, and hand money to these folks, and they teach them really well how to be a rifleman in the infantry, or a police SWAT guy, or a contractor, or something, right? And that's really good for those vocations, and I understand why those dudes teach what it is that they know, and I understand why it has a lot of validity towards the self-defense side of the house, and I'm not bashing those people. The problem occurs when you look at the industry as a whole, and you look at, like SHOT Show, for instance, and all this other stuff, where, like, holy crap, the amount of effort and emphasis that's put on, like, the special operations guys, or things revolving around that, to where unless you are one of those dudes, or have or are one of those personalities or whatever, you are not allowed to have a say in anything with regards to self-defense, which is kind of crazy, because I'm gonna tell you right now, some of the very best trainers as far as teaching people how to shoot and shoot really well, were civilians. Okay. The first one that I can think of is down in South Florida. His name's Andy Blackshick. I'm certain that I screwed up his last name pronunciation, but he runs the Tactical Firearms Academy. The dude was a competitive guy, right? And the dude's running around to a lot of police departments now, teaching their cops how to shoot well and everything else. And that's as far as I can tell. I haven't kept up with him since, actually, for quite some time now. But the point is that while I was learning what there was to learn from him, he taught me so much about really simple things with, like, handgun fundamentals and things like that, and how to maximize your individual potential as a dude putting sights on a target and pressing a trigger. Some really big and prominent names in the industry were never one of these military dudes. And look, it's not to diminish what those guys do, okay? Special operations dudes have a crazy skill set, and they're very driven, very intelligent, and they do an extraordinary job. But when someone who hasn't had any of those experiences talks to somebody in like the gun guy world, for instance, with let's just say a male nurse, right, who's in the same class, and that guy starts talking about what happens to people when they go through certain things under blood loss. Same thing if he's like an EMT or something, right? I've seen a lot of people look at that guy and look at him like, who the fuck are you? But the crazy thing is that that individual, that EMT or that nurse, has been exposed to far more blood, far more result of violence, and far more death than anybody that you know, generally speaking. Okay? And the craziness behind the industry is that this tactical douchebaggery just surrounds so much crap. And it's kind of nuts, because yes, I have a military background and stuff, and yes, it's been surrounded by, like, the engineer corps and everything else, and route clearance and all of this other stuff. But generally speaking, like, for instance, I went through this phase, and a lot of people who get into the gun guy stuff go through this phase, where, I related everything to, like, military stuff, and if the dude didn't wear a green suit or wasn't law enforcement or something like that, I took them as absolutely irrelevant, right? And this is the truth, you know. And a lot of times you start to notice that even things in, like, for instance, quote, my arena, or just the arena that I inhabit, there's a lot of things that intermingle very well if you just listen to other people. You know, for instance, so much stuff that I've learned on, like, the casualty care side of the house and everything else came from people that had nothing to do with the military side of the house, you know. And what's crazy to me is that there are a lot of people out there that run good schools at their core, but they still don't teach like individuals. Like, they don't teach like the regular person what they're going to deal with, you know. Like, there's a lot of schools that I've been to where we would do like squad-sized movements, assaults and bounding and all this other stuff, when realistically speaking, when it comes to just on the street or in the backyard or whatever, at most you're going to end up with like one person that's with you that carries a gun all the time with similar or more training than you, you know. And just this incredible amount of just flashy tactical faggotry that just encapsulates the industry is running us into a couple of problems. And one of those problems to me is that the industry as is now does not cater to the regular person. The normal dude that's got a regular set of pants on, he's got his regular stuff to do, but he carries a gun, you know, and he runs out and he trains and he practices with it because he values himself and his, you know, family and stuff like that, you know. And there's less tailored to that person. And the industry as a whole has just for the longest time left that person in the dust, you know. So to me, I see it as a problem because there's a lot of people that go at this wrong-headed, I believe, because all of the tactical stuff that pertains to a different job doesn't pertain specifically to you. And a lot of times solutions that are very easy, very affordable and usable, like for instance, I've pretty much ditched mag carriers altogether as far as carrying a pistol on a day-to-day basis. And you guys know, for the longest time, I've been a huge proponent of the whole change pocket thing, to just carry a spare magazine, because it's there, it's secure, it doesn't go anyplace, and that's it. But I've been to concealed classes where dudes just look at you really fucked up when you don't show up with the latest, greatest tactical whiz-bang thing. Where's your 15 knives and 9,000 lumen flashlight and everything else? And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So, you guys know that I've been running the regular guy handle for the longest time, and really the reason behind that was centered towards that thought process for me, to where titles, unless you're doing the right things in the right places, to me titles are meaningless. I met so many people in the military and stuff like that where they'll have something like a designated marksman certification, and then they'll go out there with glass mounted on an M4 and shoot a 32. You flaunt your title, but it's worthless because you can't do what it is that you say you can, you know. So to me, it's one of those things where what I believe that the industry can benefit from, and what I believe that you guys can benefit from a lot, is to not focus so much on the tactical wizardry that comes with a lot of this stuff. To not focus so much on doing something because someone else said so. It's more to focus on what's your life like, what do you have to deal with, and if you're into the gun guy stuff or self-defense as a whole, how do you better protect yourself with that thought process? How do you better protect yourself with those things that you will deal with in mind? For instance, whether or not you have kids, whether or not you live in a big or a small place, what that place is made out of, you know, what area you live in, what possible things that you're going to have to deal with are, you know, because how someone approaches self-defense and how someone carries a gun and what they put on their body, even if it's dodging around car keys and wallets and all this other stuff, will differ if he lives in Miami versus out here in Middle Tennessee. It's going to be different in one way, shape, or form. So what I would highly suggest to just you guys in the industry and everything else, and I recognize that a lot of you guys have already taken this step and have already understood that the word tactical is just so dead and so overplayed that it's not even taken seriously in the slightest regard anymore. But for those of you that are just now jumping onto this whole gun guy game and see all of this stuff and get really overwhelmed by it, a lot of decisions will be made much easier, I believe, if you approach it in that context. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, if you have any opinions on this matter, go ahead and throw it in the comments box below. And remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. And yeah, I like this shirt too.